Great to see you. We're back on the couch, which means that it is time for another one shot. So, for those of you who are new, this is Breaking Bio, the YouTube channel that focuses on diversity and conservation. And my name is Gabi, and I'm a friendly conservation biologist who co hosts this with my good friend Jennifer. So, we are going to be talking today about something that I think affects a lot of us who are in field conservation, which is being away from your family because you're in the field, or in general, just the instability of having to move a lot, especially when you're early career and you're working things out. So for those of you who aren't in field conservation or in conservation in general, I'm going to kind of explain what the context is. So for a lot of people who are early career, they're just starting their careers, they're going where the jobs are. In a lot of cases, they are taking field tech positions right out of undergrad to kind of learn the field and get field skills and to build up experience. And these could be internships or short-term positions. Often they're seasonal positions. So there's a lot of moving around in conservation if you start out in the field conservation route, where you're kind of going from job to job. And because the field is very, it's a very competitive field, it's just kind of how it is. You kind of have to go where the jobs are, and sometimes the jobs are very far away from, your family or your support system. Or you might be, as I did, move abroad. So I was abroad in Southern and Eastern Africa for almost 4 years, pretty much straight. And that was really hard sometimes. So I just kind of want to talk about that. In terms of my own experience, when I moved abroad, I was going to grad school at the University of Cape Town. I had a great experience, had a great time doing my degree, even though it was difficult because it's grad school. Some of the best years of my life so far. But it is really hard because you're away from, the people who love you and your support system. So that is kind of a real challenge, I think. And after that, I moved to Kenya to do a succession of internships, and then I moved to Namibia for my kind of first big out of grad school position, where I managed the human wildlife conflict team within the ecology department in Namibia at Cheetah Conservation Fund. So that was a great experience, and I really enjoyed my time there. But again, it's tricky because you're away from the people that you love, and there's a lot of ways that So my family's awesome. My mom tried to mitigate a lot of me missing them by, she snuck some stove, what is it called, stove craft or something like that, like the the Thanksgiving Day stuffing and a can of cranberry sauce into my suitcase when I went to Kenya for the first time. And little letters and things like that. I had something to open when I got there. Because it's also hard, especially when you're really, far out into the boonies, it's hard to get mail. So people, my mom would send me stuff to Namibia, and it would come, 6 months later, So that's hard. And then if your internet isn't good, and it's very difficult to contact people, it's even trickier. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that as kind of the baseline for my experience and what helped me, because I know this is a challenge for a lot of early career people or people who are stationed in the field. So what helped me was making a found family no matter where I was. So of course, you have your family and then you have your friends back home, but it's important to kind of make contacts where you are, especially if you're in a field camp, because you're probably going to be working and living with the same guys. So it's best if you can make friends with them, because I think a lot of the times that can be challenging if you're around the same people all the time. So definitely make friends and wherever you are. And the thing is, those people might not be your friends for life, or they might be. I mean, Jennifer and I met in Namibia. We were in the same field camp. So they might be your friends for a long time, or you might lose touch when you move away. But at the same time, I think it's really important to build that social support for yourself. And especially in grad school when you're under a lot of stress, you have to find your people. Whether or not that's signing up for clubs or, clubs at the university, or making sure you're going to different events in your department. Just make sure that you're kind of, even though you're busy, find that time to socialize. And also just reminding myself what I was doing it for. So I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes, you're sitting there at, Christmas or at, on your birthday and your family isn't there and it's really hard. Um, in those cases, again, like try to find other people to celebrate those things with you, but you're also still gonna miss your people back home. Reminding myself what I was doing it for was really important. So like, why did I, choose that path, and why have I kind of put myself in that particular situation? How it's going to help you accomplish your goals, and also the fact that it's temporary. Like you're going to see your people again, and it might be a while, but you're doing this for a particular reason. Um, yeah, and then when you can, reaching out, even though it's not the same. So making sure that whenever, if you're in the field and you can only get to an internet cafe like every 3 months, like make sure you're on, the field vehicle that's going into town to get to the internet cafe so you can talk to people who are important to you. So yeah, so social support, keeping kind of like the reasoning in mind, and also making sure you're trying to stay in contact whenever you can. I think also keeping in mind that it's temporary, right? I mean, it's not like you're not going to see them forever, and sometimes having a very clear idea of when you might be able to visit them or when they might be able to visit you, even if it's a year off. So when I was in grad school, it was almost a year until I saw my mom again, because she had to come all the way out to South Africa to see me. Yeah, and just maybe, even if it's a long way off, planning what they're going to do when they get there and visit you, or when you get home and visit them, is really important. So yeah, so this kind of moving around a lot is a huge sacrifice. That's kind of an inherent part of being in early career field conservation, and something that we kind of all have to deal with. And yeah, I guess the last part of this is just that did kind of affect my decision-making process, in terms of I decided, like about my third year doing intensive work abroad or study abroad, that as much as I enjoy it, and again, I think I've said in the channel before, like African conservation issues, that's all I've ever wanted to do. I mean, since the age of 5, I have no conscious, like literally no conscious recollection of what happened to make me want to go into African conservation issues. It's just literally all I've ever been hardcore interested in and want to work on, was, kind of big, complicated problems, and working with communities, and learning from the people who understand, the area best. I think that's the coolest thing about all of this. So while that hasn't changed, and while that's still what I want to do, it did kind of affect my decision-making process in terms of whether or not I wanted to move full-time abroad. And that was actually, there were multiple different kind of strains to my thinking on this. One of those was just very simple. I miss my family, and my friends, and missed having contact with them. I have a very small family, but I'm close with them, so I miss being able to see them. And also the fact that I kind of felt a little, I'm trying to think of the best way to like phrase it, uncomfortable, I guess, with the idea of moving to another country full time and kind of telling people how to do conservation in a different country. Although I've always worked very collaboratively, I also didn't feel that it was entirely my place as a foreigner to kind of set up shop somewhere. And basically, because again, I'm early career and I'm still learning. So it was this weird place of kind of being in a, kind of being put forward as an expert by certain people, but also the fact that I knew that I was still understanding the cultural context of where I was, and not feeling comfortable to, not approach it from a learning perspective. So that's another one of my reasons why I decided that I probably don't want to be based abroad my entire career. So I think ideally right now it would be great to have a balance of having a home base in the States but being able to have travel, to have a sense of stability. And that's my own personal decision. But it was an interesting thing because, like when you're a kid, you're like, I want to move abroad and like live out in the middle of the wilderness. And that works really well for a lot of people. And they're really happy doing that. Many of them, they might marry another conservationist and move out there. And that's awesome. But for now, I think I'm happy with the decision where I've made, which is like opportunity to travel, but also a home base. As people in my life who I really care about get older and things like that, to be able to kind of have the best of both worlds. And it took me, gosh, like almost 5 years to get to the point where that looks like that's a possibility, and that's kind of what my life is going to look like for a bit. So I guess what I want to kind of just close on is that all you early career people who are, living out of 2 suitcases because you're moving around the country, around the world, trying to get experience, you're in that very, early stage of just trying to figure out how to get a foothold in the industry. It does get better. It's always hard. Like, I'm not going to lie and say that the field that we've chosen is difficult. But it does get easier as you build your network to be able to find that stability. If that stability is really important to you, like you will be able to find it and, ideally not compromise those opportunities for things like learning from other cultures and adventure that a lot of people, who are conservationists, that's one of the reasons why we do what we do, right? Like not only because we're passionate about what we do, but because a lot of us are explorers and we want to see the world and see new things and understand things from other points of view, right? So yeah, it gets easier over time. And if anyone, ever wants to reach out to me, you can definitely, drop me a comment or contact me on Twitter. I'm on Twitter as well, and I'm happy to, offer some support because it is tough out there, guys. Totally tough. I mean, I've put little Christmas decorations on acacias before, by myself. So yeah. So this is, especially you guys out in the field right now for the holidays, I feel ya. But it does get easier, and you have a big conservation family out there rooting for you. So I'm gonna end that with that, and I'll see you guys soon. I have a bunch of interviews lined up for this month, and Jennifer's gonna be putting a bunch out as well. So stay tuned. Bye.